Thank you, Mr. Mishra, for your insightful words. I would now like to invite Ms.Vini Mahajan, Secretary of the Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation, Ministry of Jal Shakti, Government of India, to deliver the keynote address of the evening. A little bit about Ms.Vini Mahajan. While this might not capture the scope and the breadth of the work that ma'am has done, I'd like to capture that in a few sentences. With over 3 decades of experience, she's held a range of high-profile positions, both across Punjab and the central government. An IAS officer from the Punjab cadre, she's made history as the first woman to serve as Chief Secretary of Punjab. Her career has spanned diverse areas, including health system strengthening, infrastructure development, and rural empowerment, with a strong focus on delivering impact through innovation and collaboration. Prior to her role as Secretary of the Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation, she served as the additional Chief Secretary, overseeing key sectors like investment promotion, industries and commerce, IT, and governance reforms in Punjab. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms.Vini Mahajan. Please welcome her to stage.
Thank you, and thank you, Anjali and Mr. Mishra, for getting me here today. So, Mr. Mishra was just talking about how today's gathering and the discussions are intended to be an effort to perhaps understand the deeper implications of climate change on societies and the underprivileged within those societies, and to think about what practically can be done about that. And I think Anjali referred to some of the key possibilities there when she talked about A, partnerships, and B, innovations. I think after a long career, as has just been mentioned, across different sectors in government, one thing that one comes away absolutely convinced of is that while government can and should be one of the very important stakeholders in any matter involving public interest, it definitely cannot be the only one, and perhaps occasionally not even the main one. Even within government, partnerships are more important than sometimes anyone sitting outside would imagine. So, in the presence of so many people from the health sector, I think back of my own days as Health Secretary of Punjab and arguing in some sense with the then ministry leadership and saying, the only thing that you actually need to do, and health is a state subject, even though Government of India tends to think that it does all the important stuff there, but I remember arguing that the only thing we actually want you to do is to have all states and UTs in a room discussing best practice, discussing what worked and why, and what did not work and why not. Because really, there is such a richness of understanding and experience within India itself, and obviously, we are put together, we are larger than, most of our states are larger than many countries. So partnerships even within the country are really important. And then you have all the other stakeholders, partners such as those in this room, civil society leaders, the private sector, the academia, research, media, all of these. And I think even now we probably do not have a very well-structured mechanism for making these partnerships work. And I'm now speaking from an experience of a little less than 3 years in the wash sector. And the wash sector is one which, we stand from the rooftops and we say, we believe in partnerships, we are looking for partnerships, and we believe that the only way to deliver sustainably on water, sanitation, and hygiene, especially in rural India, where I'm more focused on, is through these partnerships. And we say that. We say that in writing, in guidelines released by the Prime Minister, etc. We believe in it passionately. But even now, I believe that we do not have properly structured ways of doing it. So we made a kind of effort in our department. We grandiosely, and I didn't author this name, so if you don't like it, you can laugh at it, but we had the Rural WASH Partners Forum. And at this day of acronyms, it's something which is impossible to acronymize, if I can put it like that. But we have an RWPF where we try to bring together at least all the partners, the UNICEF, the BMGF and their supported setups, WaterAid, et cetera, so that we can actually sit at the table and discuss issues as equals, because while government tends to think it has a bigger hat as the policy maker, we know that the hats that people with feet on the ground who are part of the implementation, the kind of understanding they bring to the table is absolutely crucial for setting policy as well. So net, I do believe that there's a lot of scope for thinking this through. And I'm saying this because it's not just my first exposure to partnerships for impact, but apparently this is a young setup. And I believe that those of you who are here are probably interested in seeing it do well. So I think there is a need to think through, and especially because there are sort of senior people from government who are so closely associated, there's a need to think through how can we make this more of a institutional kind of mechanism. Is that at all possible, or is that is that a complete idiosyncrasy? Can we at least have ways where we exchange ideas, exchange thoughts, and have a regular kind of system of seeing the impact of these consultations? So partnerships, I think, are really crucial, including for climate change and its associated actions. And then again, the other big thing, innovation. Again, from the experience of these last almost 3 years, looking at the country from the prism of WASH, almost 6 lakh villages in this country with completely diverse kind of issues that they're facing. The situation is so different, and yet amenable to new, bringing in new techniques, new technologies. It's a no-brainer that we still haven't used IT tools, for example, in the way we should. And we have awesome databases, but we still haven't the confidence that they're fully cleaned up. So so how do we bring in, is there a way that we can check outliers, for example, in our databases and say, this is nonsense, relook this? How do we make sure that ground truthing of what we are reflecting is done in the easiest way? Who are the right people who should be providing the data, the information that is coming up into large national databases? So we have a Jal Jeevan Mission database, which is, you're supposed to be able to drill down to each village, see every house that has a tap connection. We have this similarly humongous database in the public domain, all of it for Swachh Bharat Mission. You can go down to whichever village you're interested in and see what are the kind of sanitation assets they have. Do they have a vehicle for a collection of waste? Do they have a segregation shed? How much arrangement for grey water management, et cetera, et cetera. But there's still, I think, concerns about are we using AI in the manner that perhaps we should be doing nimbly and quickly today? Are we also using the strength and competencies of our feet on the ground? So, or are we just converting paper information into digital information with the with the increased issue of duplicating the effort. Is data emanating from source? Is it getting processed? Is it amenable to actual policy action basis that data? And so innovations around the use of IT, the innovations around the use of AI are one set of innovations that I would strongly urge that we look at. And of course, then there are the real life innovations. So how do you deliver better on specific solutions? If I link back to the wash sector, how do you improve the treatment of gray water? We like to say that we should stop saying wastewater because there's no such thing. It is water that has been used once. It's amenable to appropriate levels of treatment and reuse. So how can we make that simple, effective? What are the kind of standards that should come in there? And how do we encourage the whole policy environment around that? But I think we do need to bring in the energies of a relatively dynamic, young population in the country that's looking to startups. Trust me, it seems to me that all the children I know today are actually wanting they're wanting to do their own startup, or they've already tried and moved on and want to move back. But there's a lot of energy around, it seems to me, looking for new solutions to known or even unknown problems. And I don't think we are channeling those enough into public policy concerns. We do keep trying. We have grand challenges from time to time. We put out some kind of, Startup India will, on our behalf, put out some kind of a challenge. Let's look at new biodigesters so that fecal matter can be treated in situ better than it is currently. Let's look at ways in which our latest ambition, by the way, is can we have a solution by which each of you can have a paper testing kit like the kind of COVID kits that came up, and hopefully more reliable than that, so that you can test your water quality, so that you can actually test the water from your tap and see is there bacteriological contamination, and is there any serious chemical contamination? So that's rare, but what is can we do something for that? And then the second ambition, can we throw the RO industry out of business? So can we make sure that each individual is empowered to test their own water, and when they test their own water, they should be able to demand of their water utility a better quality, an acceptable quality. And we know that in democracies, demands are responded to usually, and if those responses come, then we are able to clean up the system without making a public good into a private good, which is what we seem to have done with water. So I know this is not the time to go on a rambling conversation, but I thought I'd just sort of talk about these two pillars in some sense that I think would be really useful for any young, energetic group that is looking to make a difference on ground. Do see if partnerships can be supported in whichever way, whichever part of the story that appeals. And yes, let's see, can we get more innovations out there? Can we get those innovations to be funded? Can they be useful? Can the energy behind those innovators be channelized to the more meaningful problems? Can those receive funding? Can those receive hand-holding to achieving commercialization? And having achieved commercialization, can they actually be commercialized in a meaningful way? And with that, ladies and gentlemen, apologies for not talking climate change, but I did want to share these thoughts with you. Thank you.